Welcome to my Thursday Studio Chronicles. I've been gallivanting this week. As I mentioned last week, I headed from Houston up to northwestern Pennsylvania to visit my family, my sisters, my mother, who is 95 years old. And when you leave Houston in the middle of March and head to northwestern Pennsylvania, it's quite a shock to the system. They've had lots of snow. It was 7 degrees the first night I was there, and needless to say, I had to bundle up. Last week I had found a photograph that I was really enjoying sketching. I'll drop it in here. It has such beautiful colors, and I wanted to take out my watercolors while I was in Pennsylvania and play around with this a little bit more. It's a combination of the most beautiful spring colors. It's really inspired me. So I got out my paints and had a go. And when I visited my mother at the nursing home, I painted and she enjoyed watching, and my sisters and I had a craft project we worked on using colors. We spent quite a lot of time this week playing with cutting out shapes, gluing them down. We were enjoying color. It was so drab outside. And while we were looking through magazines for bits of color, I came across another photograph that is similar in color to the one I'd been using before. I just loved it, and so I used it as my inspiration. Take a look. While Mom and sisters used the bits of color that they had cut out of magazines, I started in sketching on lightweight sketch paper. I started putting in color using this new photo reference because I loved the colors of the flowers. And the watercolors worked really well on the paper. I did 1 or 2 sketches on paper, and then I decided to switch over to canvas boards. And I hadn't tried painting on canvas with watercolor for quite some time, but I have been surprised in the past at how beautifully watercolor laid down on gessoed canvas. So I started one, and that went pretty well. I'm working very fast when I do this. And I tried a second one, kind of had them both going side by side, and then disaster struck. We had to gather our things fairly quickly because a spring storm was coming our way, and we were watching the radar, but we knew we had to gather up our art materials and say goodbye to Mom and get back to my apartment before the sky opened up. And unfortunately, we didn't time it quite right. So my sister was carrying my wet paintings. I had 2 of them on canvas that weren't quite dry, and one was hidden down underneath and one was on top. And by the time we got to the car, this one had about an eighth of an inch of water floating on it, sort of disturbing the watercolor a little bit. And we just kept going. My sister held it in her lap in the car all the way to my apartment, and she carefully carried it in. By the time we got there, there was no rain, and it dried, an impressionistic painting as opposed to the more, not realistic, but more well-defined painting that you see in my left hand, close to me. I will probably take some time this week and put a little bit of definition into this, but I find it so fascinating how the watercolors merge together in very beautiful ways, and you could never create this effect on purpose. It's just nature taking its course, which is really the best way to paint watercolor. I'll let you take a close look here and let me know what you think. Okay, here's the impressionist version that got wet and the colors mingled. and here's the one with more definition. I kind of like them both. Moving on, I have to say it's kind of a coincidence that I found this beautiful photo reference in a gardening magazine while I visited Mom, while I had been using a very similar color palette prior to that when I made these sketches. And I promised today that I would be tearing these up and composing them in collage format, repositioning them so that I could create abstraction in the landscape. So I'm about to bring you along as I give that a try. It's one of my favorite things to do. But I'm really on a roll with this particular palette of colors right now. I'm loving it. It's fun to find a group of colors that really speak to you. And once you do, I urge you to don't think about doing a painting. Think about doing a whole group of sketches and paintings until you have finished that idea. And I don't know when I'm going to finish this idea because I'm really loving these colors. So come along, let's get collaging. When I'm abstracting the landscape with my sketches, this is a really good way to think about composition in an all-new, very free-formed way. I didn't have to worry about composition when I did these sketches because I knew I was going to tear them all up anyway. I'm just going to peek back through a couple of fairly recent sketches that I did this way. These were sketched and then torn up and put back into my sketchbook. I find this is something that I can look back on. It helps me loosen up when I go to do a painting. Again, this was fun because I didn't feel like I had to stay within a rectangle. Sort of felt rebellious, like I was breaking a rule or something. And I love the way some of these shapes and colors mingled. I used a whole variety of mediums. Today, I'm going to just use these couple of things that I fairly recently painted, sketched last week when I was up in Pennsylvania. It's always a challenge to figure out where to begin. And we always have a choice of deciding, do we want to start by tearing straight edges or do we want to freeform tear? I might just go ahead and start with my straight edge and see where we go. So here's a start. I think I'll take some of the white edge off. There's no right or wrong here. If you're like me, you're probably going to think to yourself, oh, don't tear that, don't get rid of that. But I'm the artist, you're not. And I suggest if you want to give this a try, you can make your own decisions. You know, I kind of like that, just in and of itself. There's no rule that says I have to do anything beyond choosing that. I don't have to add anything more. I think I'm going to just keep that as it is. I like to use my palette knife to put gel medium down, just because it's not quite as messy. And when I glue, I use quite a lot of medium. I want my pages to not have bubbles. And if you cover the back of your paper with medium and then put it down with a generous amount of medium, it's much less apt to bubble. I'm kind of liking this just as it is. I hadn't really set out to create a horizontal painting. But if I took this to a larger canvas, I think it would make a beautiful piece. I love the colors. Okay, there's one already in my sketchbook. Let's do another one. Let's see. I think I'll work a little bit more abstractly this time. There's no right or wrong in this process. I'm thinking maybe doing something a little bit less conventional. I always love to put these torn sketchbook edges into a collage. Maybe I'll take something from this page now. I like some of these marks, but what else can we do here? Let's take some of this. Let's see. Ooh, pretty colors. Loving the colors. The reason these all go together is because I limited my palette to just a few, mostly quinacridone colors and sap green and dark sap green Daniel Smith watercolors. I think I will maybe take that top off there, stick a little something in here. There's no right or wrong. And like I said before, I'm the artist, so I get to decide. This is a lot of fun. And you know, if I look back upon this in my sketchbook, I certainly don't have to hang on any particular combination. If I'm going to take it to a painting, if I'm going to be inspired by this, I don't have to copy this on a painting. I'm just having fun here. Lots of color. Maybe I'll add some green up here. Some green. Oh, that works. Now, I think I'll start gluing. Let's see, what's going first? I think this goes down first. But I always get this rearranged when I'm gluing. It doesn't matter. There's no set way. Sometimes I discover something even better. Okay, let's put that down. Now, what am I doing here? I think this goes next. You know, it's funny, but I find that I'm very much affected by different color palettes at different times of the year. And this is a very springy palette. This would not work for me, even painting, let alone colors that I might wear, clothing colors. I wouldn't really probably wear these colors in the fall. I like oranges and rust colors and new gamboge and some of those lovely yellows, oranges in the fall, and those don't work for me so much in the winter, in the spring. Wow, that's a lot of color. Let's see where. I apologize, my autofocus seems to be working overtime today. I think I was going to pull that down a little bit. And where was this going? I'm not sure. Okay. No right or wrong. Sometimes if you just jump in and work very intuitively, it creates a better outcome than if you agonize over it. After all, you can always come in and change or paint over. I mean, it's a sketchbook after all. Okay, that's working for me. I love that little flower in there. Nope. Let's see. There's nothing that says these edges have to match up. I could get my paints back out and tweak this a little bit later, but it's really not necessary. I mean, I can do whatever I want. I have gone back into my sketchbooks and tweaked things here and there. Let's see. One and two. Let's see. Do I have another one in the pipeline here? I will see what I have left with these sketches. I could probably find another painting. Let's give it a try. I'm going to remove the edge here. Whatever you pull toward you is going to leave a clean edge. Even if you're working on watercolor paper, the edge that's left behind is the messy edge. I'll see if I can show you this. See, there's a messy edge there, but that's okay. We're just working in a sketchbook. So, there's a beginning. Kind of liking that. I don't think I even need much here. Let's see. Okay, let's do it. I like it. Get rid of these. With color, I am pretty crazy about color, needless to say. I mean, you can see that in my work. And I've never been a neutrals person. So it gives me great joy to get these pretty colors out and allow them to sing like this. Ah, yes. Loving it. Put a little more up in there. Working with a palette knife, I hardly have any medium on my hands, which is nice. Okay, so with those two very quick sketches, playing with all of those pretty spring colors, I now have 1, 2, 3 collages in my sketchbook. Well, thank you for joining me this week. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on YouTube here, and if you hit the little bell, you'll be notified every Thursday or any other day that I put new content. I just wanted to tell you one really bit of good news. I sold one of my favorite paintings this week. This is called Playful. I had such a good time painting this. It's all collage. And I sold this on the website called Water Media Gallery. It charges no commission, so you get your full asking price for your painting. And Playful is headed to Colorado this week. So yay! I hope to see you next week. Take care. Have a great week.